What's up everyone? Alex here. Outside of playing RPGs, Japanese games, and watching anime, I also love watching shows like Glow Up and Drag Race. This might sound like a weird non sequitur, but it's all because of JoJo Bizarre Adventure's author Hirohiko Araki, and I blame him for my interest in that. If you've ever wondered what the inspiration was for his character's poses, it's mainly due to his keen interest in fashion, leading up to a collaboration with Gucci, which he's done a couple of times by the way, and I just think this is so cool. So it got me wondering, is there any possible way to portray the magic of how people saw fashion in a video game, and of course depict it in an interesting way? In my search for answers to this question, I have long since played many entries in the long-running Style Savvy series, but despite being able to make somebody over and dress them up and whatnot, it still didn't feel like it captured the magic of indulging in fashion and wearing these really neat clothing. It just kind of felt plain to me for some reason. So if trying to do this in a straightforward way like how you do it in Style Savvy didn't work out, is there any possible way to do this creatively, maybe in a more absurd way? This is actually why I checked out a game called Fashion Police Squad, which is a first-person shooter that has you solving people's fashion crimes. And again, in case the JoJo reference at the beginning of this video sounds like a weird non sequitur, if you look at this panel straight from the game, it's literally evoking the "oh, you're approaching me" meme that became viral several years ago, which is literally a panel from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I suspect the developers love fashion and JoJo, but that's just me assuming. But you're not here for JoJo talk, you're here for the game, so let's talk about that one. As I've said, this is a first-person shooter, and by the way, I didn't notice that the initials of Fashion Police Squad was FPS until I beat the game. This is ridiculous. And if you're looking at the gameplay right now, it looks like a typical Doom-style shooter. And I can see why you'd say that, especially with its 2D sprite-based characters, and the way your quote-unquote weapon, I'm making quotes here, is rendered in the game. I think it's more accurate to say that it's a cross between Doom and Quake, because it does feature levels with verticality, in addition to the ability to aim up and down, which was never present in the original Doom. As you go through each level, you'll encounter people committing various fashion crimes, and you have to shoot them with the appropriate sewing implement to solve this. And because of how different each fashion crime is, only a limited number of sewing implements will be useful, so you'll be switching around constantly. Now, I didn't know if this would be a pain to constantly do, especially since most shooters are fast-paced action games, but this actually adds a level of strategy to it. So in other words, if you go into a new area, you'll have to survey it first, take a look at all the enemies and where they're at, and decide how to tackle the encounter. That being said, if your fashion meter is maxed out, you can activate a super move that allows you to one-slap everyone and defeat them with the greatest of ease for a limited time. It almost looks like the judo chop from Austin Powers, and I thought that was a really funny visual, and judo chopping people left and right so that you can solve their fashion crime seems just really ridiculous and funny to me. The enemies range from people in drab suits to Karens wearing literal potato sacks, and when you finish a level, all of the perps you've helped out will attend something called a parole ball, where they get to walk down a catwalk showing off their new duds. The first time I saw this after beating the first level, I thought it was so ridiculous that it actually made me want to keep playing. And maybe actually want to hunt down more perps so I can see more people walking down the runway. It's really funny. The level variations look pretty cool too, because my memory of Doom is that the actual level design kind of compensated for the lack of variety in the texture work, and it was so interesting to see how vibrant and colorful Fashion Police Squad's levels are. And I don't say that a lot, especially for first-person shooters. Granted, I haven't been playing them a lot, especially given the militaristic nature of it, so it felt really refreshing to see a much more vibrant color palette while playing this game. There's also a lot of increased verticality thanks to some of the moves that you'll learn, which allows for quite a bit of exploration, in fact. I have to be realistic though, the design is still based on Doom and Quake, and by that I mean you'll still have to grab different colored keys in the form of scissors to cut ribbons or doors to allow access to certain areas. So I beat this game after 4 hours of play, which is not quite lengthy, but I still had a blast because it is such a fresh take on shooters that I wanted to see how much more it can deliver. The only thing I wish is that I wish I could remap the controller to move the weapon switching to my controller bumpers, because when I tried to do so, not only did it break the tutorial for me, but it also didn't really map the buttons at all, which was really puzzling. This is of course fixable in a future patch. Who knows, by the time I release this, there's already a patch that's addressed this, but otherwise if you're playing with a mouse and keyboard, you totally should be fine. Fashion Police Squad is available on Steam and Epic Games Store, and at some point I thought I saw a listing for a Switch port, but don't quote me on that because it wasn't from any official Nintendo channels. And I want to thank No More Robots for providing me with this game code. This has been an absolute blast to play, and I highly recommend checking this out if you want a little bit of a change from the usual first-person shooter rigmarole. But I want to hear from you. What do you think of Fashion Police Squad and what you've seen? Post your thoughts in the comments below and let's talk about it. If you like RPGs, Japanese, indies, niche titles, and more, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you've been a longtime subscriber, consider joining the $5 tier on my Patreon to get early access to my videos at patreon.com/backlogbattle. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.